Hello and welcome to Talk FCB and welcome back here to the channel, guys, for another video. Now today we're going to be discussing the international break and an international roundup. We're going to be looking at all the games in which Barcelona players were involved. So we're going to be taking a look at 11 different countries' path over the last week or so. Each of them have played 2 matches and we're going to be having a look at each of those games and also the implications of them by means of where they stand in terms of World Cup qualifying. That's what all these games were. Luckily this time round there was no friendlies. All the games played were competitive and a lot of them very, very interesting indeed. Particularly Argentina, who are actually at risk if they don't start performing soon of not qualifying for the next World Cup, which takes place next summer in Russia. But first of all, we're going to start with the European qualifying, which is quite controversial actually, because a lot of these games are very, very one-sided. There's been a lot said about the European qualifying system. Right now it's a very big pool of countries and islands that come into the groups, they compete, and there's a lot of teams involved. I think really to try and strip it down, there should be pre-qualifying stages to the European qualifying. Then you would get the better teams in Europe competing, and it would make it much, much more competitive, because there's a lot of teams in here like Gibraltar, like San Marino, who go out there and they know every time they're not just going to lose, but they're going to get hammered. It's not exciting for the fans, it's not exciting for the teams playing in the matches. The outcomes for a lot of these are already decided, and I think they could make this a much more competitive and much more exciting qualification process by sort of putting in those pre-qualifying rounds, so that sort of Gibraltar, San Marino, they can all play each other, and then sort of one of those or 2 of those get through to the actual qualifying stages. By doing that then, the likes of San Marino, Gibraltar, they'll actually play each other in more competitive matches, they'll improve themselves, and I think then that'll help everybody involved and it'll make the whole thing a lot more bearable. But as it is right now, Belgium did play Gibraltar on Thursday, last Thursday it was. They won 9-0 in the process. Thomas Vermaelen wasn't included in this one. He's been called up for the Belgium national side, but he remained on the bench for the entirety of that match as Belgium absolutely blitzed Gibraltar on that Thursday evening. Vermaelen was in action though on Sunday the 3rd. He played against Greece in Belgium's 2-1 win. He actually started that match and completed the full 90 minutes. So very good to see Vermaelen out there. Good to see him back fit. Really, really hope that he can stay like that, because he will play a part in the coming season. If he can stay fit, he can be a decent backup centre-back, and he proved that in Belgium's win against Greece. Lukaku's winning goal 15 minutes from time in that game officially confirmed Belgium's place at the 2018 World Cup. They will finish top of their group. They currently have 22 points after their 8 matches, scoring 35 goals in the process. Their final 2 games are against Bosnia away from home and Cyprus at home. Those 2 matches, and all of these matches now, the final 2 games in these groups, will take place in an international break in the middle of October. Next up, we're going to head to Group I and take a look at what Croatia were doing, of which Ivan Rakitic was called up to Croatia during this national break. On the 3rd of September, on last Sunday, they took on Kosovo and won 1-0. This is quite an interesting game actually, because that was meant to take place on the Saturday, but due to very, very bad conditions, that game was then called off and postponed until the day later. Croatia eventually scraped over the line in that one. Rakitic started the match, but he was replaced with 55 minutes gone. That is when it's believed that he did suffer his current slight hamstring injury, so he didn't travel to their next game, which was against Turkey last night. They lost that one 1-0, but instead Rakitic returned straight to Barcelona following that injury that he suffered, and this morning he has been working alone in the gym to recover from that, and he is a potential doubt for Saturday's league game against Espanyol, so hopefully that'll be a quick recovery for him. But it doesn't look like too serious an injury, but it is one of the injuries that we did sustain during this international break. But for Croatia, meanwhile, they do remain top of their group in Group I, but only on goal difference. Iceland are right behind them on the same amount of points, and Turkey are only 2 behind Croatia. They face Finland at home in their next game, with a potentially decisive away trip to Ukraine in their final qualifying match. So top of their group right now, Croatia, but they're very, very close, and it's a very tightly contested group in Group I. And following on from that, also in their group, like I mentioned, is Arda Turan's Turkey. They were in action last Saturday against Ukraine. They ended up losing that game 2-0. Arda Turan actually started that game from the bench, but he was introduced introduced at around the 55-minute mark, coming on for Çalhanoğlu, but it was a double from new Borussia Dortmund signing and possible Ousmane Dembele replacement Yarmolenko that gave Ukraine the full 3 points, and it could be a very, very important 3 points in this very tightly contested group. 3 days later, though, Arda Turan did start the match as Turkey faced Croatia and did leave with all 3 points, winning that one 1-0 with Tosun's goal with just a few minutes to go. Arda Turan, though, was substituted with around 20 minutes to go, being replaced by new Celta Vigo signing Emre Mor. Turkey currently lie third in their group. Turkey still do have a shot of qualifying for the coming World Cup. They're 2 points behind the leaders Croatia, which we mentioned earlier, and also Iceland, who occupy the playoff spots. They're very close to them indeed. They have some very, very important games coming up. They face Iceland at home in their next match, which they will desperately need to win to keep up their hopes of qualifying, and they face Finland away from home in their final qualifying match. Now if we take a look at Group A, which features France and the Netherlands, both of which we do have Barca contingents on both sides. On Thursday they played each other, France against the Netherlands, which was a very, very one-sided affair. France winning that 4-0. Samuel Umtiti started the match and played the full 90 minutes as France kept a clean sheet, but it was a rather poor occasion for Jasper Cillessen, who is in goal for the Netherlands. It was nothing to do with him, though. He couldn't really have done a lot about the goals. Some fantastic goals from France there really were. Thomas Lemar, reported Barcelona target, scored twice. Also Antoine Griezmann and Kylian Mbappe, new PSG signing, getting on the score sheet. Lucas Digne remained on the bench for the entirety of that one, but the Netherlands did bounce back in their next game, a massively must-win game for them. They beat Bulgaria at home by 3-1. Jasper Cillessen once again playing the part in the full 90 minutes, whereas France took sort of one step back. They had a very disappointing 0-0 draw with Luxembourg. Umtiti once again playing the full 90 minutes and Lucas Digne remaining on the bench for the entirety of that one. France remain top of their group, 1 point currently ahead of Sweden, with Netherlands currently in third place. They're 3 points away from a playoff spot and 4 points away from France, who are currently top. France face Bulgaria and Belarus in their 2 final matches, both of which they'd be very much expected to win, whereas Netherlands face Bulgaria away and then a potentially very crucial match against Sweden at home if they want to qualify for the coming World Cup. They're going to definitely need to win that one. Now we cross to Group B to take a look at how Portugal and Andre Gomes are doing. He didn't actually feature very much for Portugal over this international break. Last Thursday they faced the Faroe Islands, winning 5-1 on the night. Andre Gomes started the game from the bench but was subbed on with 20 minutes to go. Ronaldo scored a hat-trick in that one, along with goals from William Carvalho and Nelson Oliveira. However, in Portugal's second match away at Hungary, Andre Gomes stayed on the bench for the entirety of that game and did not play a single minute. Portugal won that one 2-1. Hungary, though, had a man sent off in the first half, Priskin, with an elbow on Pepe, so Portugal had a very big advantage in that game, which they did manage to win. Portugal remain comfortably second in their group, but Switzerland currently occupying the first automatic slot. Portugal face Andorra away in their next match, which should be an easy one for them, with a massive game then at home to Switzerland in their final qualifying match. That match against Switzerland will likely determine who finishes top of this group. And now to Group C, we've been keeping an eye on Marc-Andre ter Stegen's Germany. They played last Friday against Czech Republic away from home. Marc-Andre ter Stegen started in that game, as he did in both of Germany's games over the international break, and he's done very well, to be fair to him. Joachim Löw had decided to count on ter Stegen because of Manuel Neuer's currently out with a bit of an injury, and he's done very well since he come in. He made some big saves across the 2 games, and he looked very, very comfortable. He looked like he was good under pressure, and he looked like he was meant to be there as the Germany's #1, and it was really nice to see ter Stegen getting his chance with the German national team, particularly after his success in the summer at the Confederations Cup, where he really did impress for the German national side. They beat Czech Republic 2-1, and then they played Norway, and it was an absolutely sensational performance by Germany. Ozil, Draxler, Timo Werner with it twice at the double, and Goretzka, Mario Gomez all on target as Germany blitzed Norway. They were 4-0 up at that one at half-time, eventually winning that 6-0. Germany remain firmly top of their group, 5 points ahead of Northern Ireland, who they actually face in their next qualifying match. If they avoid defeat in that game, they will then officially mark their place at the next World Cup before playing their final game at home against Azerbaijan. Final of the European teams we have to discuss, that is Group G, heading there to talk talk about Spain, who've been in fantastic form over the course of this international break. They played last Saturday at home against Italy. They won that game 3-0 and they were absolutely outstanding. Piqué, Busquets and Iniesta all started as Spain produced an outstanding display against the Italians. Iniesta really starring in that midfield, and Busquets as well, alongside Isco, who did score 2 of the goals. Morata got the 3rd, and it was a really impressive on a night where Piqué and Busquets both played the full 90 minutes, with Iniesta playing the majority of the match too. He was subbed after 72 minutes on that one. Jordi Alba also played the full 90 minutes against Italy, but he was one of the Barcelona players who did not feature against Liechtenstein. Last night they beat Liechtenstein 8-0, another one of those teams, like I say, who come every single week and they know that they're going to get hammered when they face opposition in these kind of qualifiers. Piqué, Busquets and Iniesta, though, all did start as they absolutely destroyed them on the night. All 3 of those also completed the 90 minutes, which I was quite disappointed about, particularly Iniesta. He played nearly the full game against Italy, and then Lopetegui picked him once again to complete the full 90 minutes. Spain were cruising. There was no real need to leave him out there, whereas Ramos, David Silva and Isco were all substituted before the 33-year-old Iniesta. So I was quite disappointed about that. Piqué as well stayed out there despite him suffering a few injuries of late. Ramos substituted. Make of that what you will. I wasn't really happy with Lopetegui's decision there. I think he could have rested at least Piqué or definitely Iniesta. Spain were cruising. There was no need, in my opinion, to leave him out there. But Spain, outstanding over the course of the international break. De La Fea was one of those who didn't play an awful lot for Spain over the course of the international break. He didn't play against Italy, but he did get to come on in the 56th minute against Liechtenstein, and he did play a part in the 8th Spanish goal. A good piece of play from him led to an own goal. So a decent cameo appearance there for De La Fea, but not an awful lot of action for him. But Piqué, Busquets and Iniesta all racking up significant minutes over the course of the break for Spain. They remain top of their group, 3 points ahead of their closest rivals. Italy, they face Albania at home and Israel away in their final 2 qualifying matches, and they will firmly expect to be at Russia next summer. And now we move on to the South American qualifying, which I did mention was going to be talked about at the start of the video. And I must say that the South American qualifying is very exciting. The complete opposite to what the European qualifying is. All of the teams are very tightly contested. It's really close in that group, and all of the games are played with tremendous intensity and a lot of heart. Every single one of them very tight, and it's very excitable to watch for the neutral. But we're going to talk about Brazil first, who took place in their first game last Friday. They played Ecuador. Paulinho started that match and he did score as Brazil comfortably saw off Ecuador, and then Paulinho captained Brazil last night in Brazil's 1-1 draw with Colombia. They've already qualified for the 2018 World Cup. They remain top of the South American qualifying standings. They have 37 points from 16 matches, scoring 38 goals in the process. Their final 2 games are against Bolivia and Chile then at home, but like I say, they've already qualified. They've been cruising and they've been playing really well as well. Paulinho does seem to perform with Brazil. I hope that he can bring that form to Barcelona, but we're going to have to see whether he can fit into the same sort of role in our team as he does in Brazil. And then 2 countries who are still battling it out for a World Cup place, Argentina and Uruguay, both faced each other last Thursday. That one ended 0-0. Messi and Luis Suárez both started that game. Luis Suárez returning from his slight injury break. He played 83 minutes before being substituted by Cristian Stuani. Javier Mascherano remained a sub for that match, but it was very tightly contested, very close indeed. Argentina very much struggling to get going, and I think Uruguay on the night certainly would have taken a point against Argentina. They're higher up in the standings and they would have taken that for sure. And Uruguay were then in action last night as well. They beat Paraguay 2-1 away from home. Luis Suárez once again started the match and was substituted, but only in the final few seconds. He pretty much played 90 minutes for Uruguay, so he looks fully much back to fitness as well, and he had a very big hand in the decisive second goal. He hit the crossbar with the rebound of that, hitting Paraguay's centre defender Gustavo Gomez, which then went down as an own goal. So Suárez playing his part as he usually does in Uruguay's success, and they themselves now are second in the South American qualifyings, 10 points behind Brazil, but they're firmly in contention to qualify for the 2018 World Cup. They face Venezuela away and Bolivia at home in their final 2 games, and they look very much set to qualify for the World Cup. Argentina, however, are a completely different story. They, of course, drew, like I say, with Uruguay 0-0, and they followed that up last night with yet another draw at home against Venezuela. 1-1 it finished on the night, and it was a very, very disappointing performance once again from Argentina. Messi and Mascherano both started this match and played the full 90 minutes, but it was really frustrating to watch. I didn't watch the full match, but I've seen a lot of extensive highlights, and Lionel Messi seems to be doing everything. Once again, you look at his performance, there was a few moments in there where he was playing key passes, he was making key dribbles, and then his teammates were absolutely letting him down. Sampaoli's second game into qualifying, he hasn't really seemed to get it going yet, he hasn't really seemed to got his ideas across, but he needs to do it quickly because Argentina are in real trouble right now with regards to qualification for the World Cup. They currently reside in 5th position in their group with Brazil, Uruguay, Colombia, Peru all ahead of them right now. Chile as well outside the automatic qualifying places. But Argentina really do need to win their final 2 games. They face Peru at home and Ecuador away, and they absolutely need to win those to guarantee their place at the next World Cup. If they don't win those games, if they underperform yet again, they're going to be relying on others to sort of give them favours, or they're going to have to go through a playoff if they're lucky. So they need to win those next 2 games. They need to start sort of developing a real sort of brand about their play. Sampaoli needs to get his ideas across very quickly, but those 2 games in mid-October are going to be absolutely massive to whether Argentina make it to the World Cup, and I really do hope they do, even though they consistently let Lionel Messi down. His performance yesterday really wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad one. He didn't let Argentina down. It was his teammates once again that were spurning the chances that he created for them. He was playing well in and around the area. He had to drop deep a lot of the time to receive the ball, and I just think that Sampaoli needs to really get a system going and get it going quickly so they can get to the World Cup and then work on their ideas in what they're going to do, try and get the very best out of Lionel Messi and try to cater for him in their lineup. But basically, guys, that was the international roundup. There's been a lot of good performances from our guys over the course of the break, but I have to say this, I'm very much glad it's over. I don't particularly enjoy the international breaks. I don't really enjoy that time away from Barcelona. I'm looking forward to getting everybody back into training. Hopefully everybody is pretty much fit. That injury to Rakitic is only a slight one, so hopefully he can return very soon indeed. We've got a very hectic fixture schedule coming up. As I mentioned yesterday, September is full of matches to look forward to, so we're going to start with Espanyol on Saturday and then Juventus coming up next Tuesday. So I'm going to have a preview for the Espanyol game coming up tomorrow, guys, so keep a lookout for that. Thank you as always for all of your comments. Leave your thoughts down below, guys, on the internationals that you've seen over the course of the break, and if your country was in action, please do let me know down below how you got on. I hope that everybody enjoyed the break, but Barcelona will be returning soon. I'll see you then, but until then, as always, Visca el Barça!